A'ja Wilson's just a big bully. Look at this. Throws Lexi Hull on the ground. Everything she does is illegal. Look at this one. A moving screen and then pushes Lexi Hull. You think they ever call a foul on A'ja Wilson?
What happens when the WNBA's most dominant dynasty gets embarrassed on the very night its superstar is crowned MVP? That's exactly what played out in Las Vegas. The night was supposed to belong to A'ja Wilson, her MVP trophy, her legacy, her celebration. Instead, it became the stage where the Indiana Fever walked in as underdogs and left with one of the most shocking playoff wins in years. The spotlight was stolen, the script flipped, and the Aces were left stunned in front of their own fans.
This was supposed to be a night all about A'ja Wilson's legacy. She made history before the ball even tipped, but the game that followed reminded the Aces how tough this playoff run will be.
The Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game.
Hours before tip-off, Wilson raised her trophy high as the crowd roared. Confetti fell, cameras flashed, and it felt like another chapter in the Aces dynasty. But sometimes, glory before the game plants a dangerous seed: overconfidence. Vegas came in assuming the night was theirs. The players smiled, the analysts nodded, and the storyline seemed written before the first whistle. But as soon as the game tipped off, that golden trophy on the sideline began to feel less like a crown and more like a curse. By the end of the night, it symbolized everything that went wrong.
And A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish. There was a small little patch there in the third quarter. We started saying, are the Aces gonna come back? But Kelsey Mitchell and Odyssey Sims said, no, they're not going to come back. Not at all.
The Fever entered battered, bruised, and short-handed. Caitlin Clark was sidelined. Sophie Cunningham was injured. 6 key players were missing in total. Analysts barely mentioned Indiana during pregame shows. Even Vegas head coach Becky Hammond mocked the matchup, reminding everyone that the Fever hadn't faced the real Aces yet. To most of the league, Indiana wasn't a contender. They were an afterthought. But when the world writes you off, something shifts. With no pressure and no expectations, the Fever played with freedom. And that freedom would soon turn into firepower.
Follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple in the regular season than A'ja. And the entire league. And Sims, they gave her just that space and she took it.
From the opening tip, Indiana came out flying. The ball zipped from one side of the court to the other. Shots fell in rhythm, and their pace was relentless. Vegas, known for controlling tempo, suddenly looked a step slow, like champions unprepared for a real fight. When the Aces made a small third-quarter run, the crowd leaned forward, expecting the inevitable comeback. But Kelsey Mitchell drilled dagger shots, Odyssey Sims clamped down on defense, and the rally fizzled. The Aces weren't closing the gap. They were watching it widen. Panic started to creep in, and the energy inside the arena shifted.
But on the court, the Fever crashed the party. Kelsey Mitchell dropped a playoff career-high 34 points to spoil the night with an 89-73 win.
In the second half, I just felt like our physicality and our pursuit was not there. Like, we died on screens. You have to have second and third efforts. Even if you know you might be beat, you still have to try hard to get back into the play, and I don't think we tried hard in that category.
Instead of adjusting, Vegas leaned into intimidation. Elbows started flying. Shoves came after whistles. Flops became their new offense. Lexi Hull was shoved to the ground multiple times. Kelsey Mitchell was hit with a technical foul on a questionable review, while far rougher Vegas plays went unpunished. It wasn't sharp basketball. It was desperation disguised as toughness. But here's the twist. Every cheap shot only made Indiana stronger. What Vegas thought would rattle the Fever only lit a fuse under them, and that fire started burning hotter with every foul.
Time keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell. Which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
Kelsey Mitchell turned the anger into artistry. She poured in a playoff career-high 34 points, slicing through defenders with ease. Jackie Young? Cooked. Chelsea Gray? Torched. Kirsten Bell? No chance. Every time the Aces tried to bully her off her spot, Mitchell answered with another jumper that silenced the arena. Vegas wanted to turn the game into a wrestling match, but Mitchell kept reminding them that basketball still mattered more. Each basket was a dagger, each celebration a reminder that Vegas had no answer. The scoreboard kept climbing, and the Aces kept unraveling. While Mitchell lit up the scoreboard, Odyssey Sims steadied the entire ship. Her drives into the paint were fearless, her defensive pressure suffocating. More importantly, she controlled the tempo. When Vegas tried to turn the game chaotic, Sims slowed things down, calmed her teammates, and then punished the Aces with smart plays on the next possession. She was the veteran voice, the calming presence, and the silent leader who reminded Indiana that composure beats chaos every time. Her fingerprints were all over the win, even if her box score didn't scream headlines. And then came the heavyweight showdown everyone was watching. Aaliyah Boston versus A'ja Wilson. Hours earlier, Wilson was crowned MVP in front of her fans. By the end of the night, Boston had turned that celebration into humiliation. Wilson shot just 6 for 22, missing layup after layup, flopping for fouls, and arguing with referees. Boston, on the other hand, stayed calm, disciplined, and unshaken. Possession after possession, she bodied up, denied position, and forced Wilson into frustration. The irony was brutal. Wilson got her flowers in the morning and thorns by nightfall. With Wilson struggling, Vegas spiraled. Jackie Young started flopping on screens. Players barked at referees after every whistle. Coach Hammond, instead of crediting Indiana's defense, blamed miscues and missed opportunities. The Aces didn't look like champions. They looked like a team desperate to cling to excuses. Meanwhile, Indiana stayed poised. The Fever refused to match cheap shots with more cheap shots. They stayed sharp, moved the ball, and let Vegas beat themselves. Each possession revealed the gap not in talent but in composure, and that gap grew wider by the minute. This upset wasn't just about stars. Natasha Howard and Brianna Turner stood tall inside, holding their ground against Vegas's physicality. They didn't get bullied off their spots. They didn't overreact. They just played disciplined defense and ripped rebounds away. And then there was Lexi Hull. Her defense on Jackie Young was suffocating, forcing her into uncomfortable angles all night. Her plus-minus finished at a game-high +24, proof of how much she tilted the floor. These weren't just role players. They were difference makers, and together they exposed just how fragile Vegas could be. After the game, Lexi Hull delivered the line that echoed across the locker room. "We're capable of whatever we want." This wasn't a fluke win. This was belief. Inside Indiana's locker room, injured players like Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham cheered like extra coaches. Stephanie White preached, "We over me," and the team lived it. Every substitution, every rotation, every play carried that spirit. The celebration wasn't just about beating Vegas. It was about proving to themselves that they belong, and belief is a dangerous weapon in the playoffs. This wasn't just another road win. It was Indiana's first semifinal victory in over a decade. And in a best-of-5 series, history says nearly 3 out of 4 teams that win Game 1 go on to advance. That's a number Vegas can't ignore. The Aces came in riding 18 wins in their last 19 games, yet all that momentum vanished in one night. The Fever didn't just steal home court, they seized control of the series math. Suddenly, the two-time defending champs weren't in control anymore. The narrative flipped in an instant. For the first time in years, Vegas looked vulnerable. Their MVP was exposed. Their coach was scrambling. Their crowd was silenced. And now, adjustments are the only lifeline. Expect them to hound Mitchell, to feed Wilson easier touches, to glue Jackie Young to Indiana's stars. But here's the problem. Indiana doesn't play with fear anymore. They don't play with pressure. They play free, unified, and dangerous. Vegas may try to adjust, but the Fever already cracked their aura. And that makes Indiana the most dangerous team in these playoffs. The Fever didn't just win a game. They flipped the series. They embarrassed the dynasty. And they showed the league that resilience, unity, and composure can outshine trophies, banners, and arrogance. On the night A'ja Wilson was supposed to own the spotlight, Indiana walked out with history. One upset changed everything. And if the Fever keep riding this wave, the WNBA isn't just witnessing a playoff surprise. It's witnessing the birth of a contender that nobody saw coming.